Hey guys, I'm Jim. I edit photos. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm in Luminar AI and I'm creating a moody, dark street scene. I love taking photographs in cities of streets and just the architecture and like the lines and streets that meander, stuff like that. They're just beautiful. I like them, and something that's fun to do is basically to create a kind of a dark and moody look. For me, that involves adjusting color and changing colors in some regard. Also, light, detail, things like that. Kind of the same stuff you work on a lot of photos, but with the intent here to make it kind of dark and moody. Let's get into it. Here's my shot. This is from the lovely city of Prague. I've already cropped it 16 by 9. I'm going to start in the light tool, and I'm going to go a little bit warmer, so maybe a 6 and a little bit more intent. I think about a 12 or 13. And then I'm going to add some smart contrast. I'm going to give that about a 38. Highlights are coming all the way down because that sky is just way too bright, and I'm going to bump up shadows about 5. So far, I've basically made the photo darker. There it is before and after. But we do have a little bit more warmth in some of the buildings, which is one of the things I want to accentuate here. So we're going to get on that in a second. First, I'm going to go to Enhance AI and use Accent AI and go to about 24 and just applying this across the entire photo, and then Structure AI. And here I'm going to go about a 33 across the entire photo, and that's basically just adding a little bit of crunch, a little bit of detail, and you can see the photo is really starting to pop a little bit. One of the things I don't really like here, though, is that there's too much yellow, because for me, some of those yellows kind of look a little bit green. And what I want to do is create a little bit more moody shot, and I want to bring it more the orange kind of look and the warmer overall tones. And so that's what I'm going to start on now by starting with the color filter. So I'm going to take saturation down a little bit, just a slight amount, and same with vibrance. Now I'm going to take the saturation and the hues and mess with those a little bit. So I'm going to pull the saturation of the orange down about a 22, 23. And the saturation of the yellow down about a 32 or so. So I've desaturated a little bit, but now I'm going to change the hue. And this is really a key step in achieving this kind of look, is I want to adjust the hues of the oranges and the yellows, because I said to me they had a little bit too green. I want to get them more firmly in the orange realm, and that's easy to do with these hue sliders. So I'm going to take the orange. As you can see, the hue here, it's color coded. So if I go to the right, it becomes more yellow, but I'm going to go to the left and it becomes more orange. So I'm going to do about a negative 52 or so. And then for the yellow, if you go to the right, as you can see, it gets kind of more in that green. I don't want that at all. I want to go more towards the yellow. So I'm going to do about a negative 60. And you can see those colors have shifted a fair amount. So the yellow is kind of gone and the green is kind of gone. And I'm left basically with an orangey kind of overall look to those colors. So let me turn this off. There it is before, definitely more yellow, and I don't know about you, but I see a little bit of green in some of that, and now it's much more firmly in the orange, which I like a lot. I think goes really well with this kind of shot, especially when the cobblestones, they kind of have that gray blue. I think it plays off that orange so nicely. Okay, now I'm going to jump down to the creative category, and I'm going to go into toning, and I'm starting on highlights. And I'm going to give that about a 46 in saturation, something about like that. But I want to move the hue a little bit to about 22, 23. So I think that's bringing up those warm tones pretty nicely. And now in the shadows, I'm going to do a little bit less here. I'm going to do about a 16 or so for both of these. So both saturation and hue are going to get about a 16 or 17, something about like that. You can see what I've done here is basically just added more of that warm color and that warm kind of orange look to the photo overall. But I think at 50 it's a little too high, so I'm going to use the amount slider and I'm going to pull that down to about 35, because I don't want a really saturated look. I want a moody overall feel to the photo. And to me, if it's really colorful, that's less moody. Like color to me is cheerful or something, and less color is a little bit moodier. So let me show you what toning did. There it is before, and there it is now. Overall, a little bit warmer look, a little bit more in that orange, and I think it's playing into the look I'm trying to achieve perfectly. Now I'm going to go into mystical simply because I like it, and I think it adds a nice little bit of mood to a photo. I'm going to do about a 30, 31 there, but I am going to bump up the shadows because I want to have pretty decent visibility into this street. And so mid-60s on shadow recovery there. So basically, there it is before, and there it is after. It also, if you look at the orange parts, it's basically popped them a little bit. It's caused them to be a little bit brighter because I lifted the shadows. But if you look at the before and the after, I think that looks nice, and it's really getting those oranges to really pop out. Now I'm going to move down to the Pro category and get color harmony, and I'm going to go here into color balance. I'm going to start with shadows. And I'm just going to go about a 2 here on the blue, so just a tiny bit in the dark areas. I like the interplay of the warm and cool, so I want to keep a little bit of that there. And now in midtones, I'm going to do about a 1 on the red and about a -6 on the yellow, maybe a -5, something about like that. And then I'm going to go into highlights, and I'm going to go to the red of about a 3. That's, again, just creating a little bit of that warm look, and that's picking up some of those brighter areas. So if I turn this off, it's pretty subtle, but there it is before the color harmony or color balance. More specifically, there it is before, and there it is after. It's just a little bit of pop of saturation and color in those orange areas. But again, I think it stands out pretty nicely. I also think the headlights coming off of this little truck and their reflection here on the cobblestone is kind of popping as well, which is kind of cool. Okay, now I'm going to go get a local mask, and I'm going to add a basic local mask. And what I want to do is basically move the light a little bit and also reduce some of the structure. So I'm going to do this with a radial mask. I'm going to drop the exposure about a -45, something like that. And I'm going to reduce structure as well, about a 29 or 30. And then I'm going to do this with a radial mask and basically just create a radial mask here in the kind of lower portion of this photo. And these are the areas that I really care about mostly, having good visibility into. And so I'm going to adjust this radial mask. I think something about like that. Now, you can move this around if you'd like to. I think I got it about where I want it. And let me show you what I've done. If I turn this off, there's the before and there's the after. Basically, all I did is I took structure down in that outer area. Let me turn on the mask so you can see that. There you go. So those red areas are where these edits are occurring. So I basically darken that area. So those are the areas that I'm not focused on. So I want to draw the viewer's attention with a little bit brighter center, and I'm going to do something else to accentuate that in a moment. But I basically darken the outer edges and remove detail. And that allows me to hopefully draw the viewer's eye kind of more into the street, create a little bit more mood. And you could also come in and drop the saturation and vibrance just a little bit because you're going to be drawn to the brighter, more colorful areas. So if I drop the saturation, the detail, and the light in those outer areas, you're more inclined to kind of follow the street. Now, your eye's going to go there anyway because I think you're going to want to look at the street and look down it and that sort of thing. But again, I'm creating a mood here and trying to adjust how I would have the viewer sort of take in the photo. So that's what that local mask did for me. Now I'm going to go back up to edit, and I'm going to get vignette, and I'm going to choose subject, and I'm going to put it right here about in the center of the street. And I'm going to just turn on the vignette by moving that like 1. I don't really need a vignette because I basically created a vignette with that local mask, but what I do want is inner light. And so I'm going to turn that on by basically moving the amount of -1. You can move it -1 or +1. It doesn't matter. Just moving the amount slider any fractional amount will basically turn on the vignette. And then you can use inner light without really having any more vignette applied to your photo. Now, if I wanted to, do more vignette, I could do that by just dragging, these sliders around. But I don't want to do that. I'm going to go back to like a 1 because I'm happy with the slight vignette that I did by basically darkening the edges with the local mask. But again, just turning that on and then using inner light allowed me to kind of pop the center of that photo. Now, if I turn off the vignette, there it is before and there it is after. Just brighten that section. And that's really my full edit. I was able to basically adjust the light, change the colors and the color hues pretty significantly, and basically focus the viewer's attention down that street. So let me show you what we started with because it's a pretty significant change. There it is before, and there it is after. And let me do this sliding window as well. You can see lots of light maneuvers, color maneuvers, things like that that really, I think, focus the viewer's attention and create that overall moody street scene look that I was going for. That's how I do it in Luminar AI. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is save this template, and I'm going to click Save. And I've got that now saved as a template so I can reuse that on future street scenes, of which I have countless hundreds of them because I just like that topic. So one more time, there's the before and there's the after. That's how I did it in Luminar AI. Hope it helps, my friends. Hope it gives you some ideas. Thanks for watching. I'll see you really soon. Have fun editing out there. Take care of yourselves, and adios.